With Frederic Vasseur firmly in charge, Scuderia Ferrari reaches the halfway point of the 2025 Formula One World Championship, burdened with a growing sense of disappointment and regret. The current performance report is undeniably bleak. Finishing in second position in the Constructors Championship may seem like a reasonable achievement at first glance, but it becomes completely irrelevant when the team leading the standings, McLaren, has managed to accumulate nearly double the number of championship points in just 12 Grands Prix, while both Red Bull and Mercedes are experiencing a series of difficult and inconsistent weekends. Even the missed opportunity for a podium finish that could have been achieved at the historic Silverstone circuit fails to bring much comfort or satisfaction, especially considering that German driver Nico Hülkenberg managed to outperform the Maranello-based team while driving the less competitive Stake F1 car. From a certain perspective, the most recent race weekend represented yet another false dawn for Ferrari and its devoted fan base. Until the third and final qualifying session, both of the team's Ferrari SF-25 cars, driven by Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, appeared to have the necessary performance potential to contend seriously for pole position. However, the final result, with both cars only managing to secure starting positions on the third row of the grid, proved to be a major disappointment and served as the first of several harsh wake-up calls. In many respects, the race itself turned out to be even more disheartening than qualifying. It is important to emphasize that analyzing and commenting on such a string of consistently underwhelming performances by the iconic Italian racing team remains a painful and frustrating task, both for its management and for the millions of passionate tifosi around the world. The 2025 Formula One season was supposed to serve as a turning point, a long-awaited moment of resurgence for Ferrari, but it is instead rapidly deteriorating into a long, slow, and excruciating struggle. The McLaren F1 team, led by British driver Lando Norris and Australian teammate Oscar Piastri, has already taken control of the championship narrative, effectively closing the door on Ferrari's hopes by the halfway mark of the campaign. This has left Ferrari and its rivals to scavenge for the few remaining opportunities. Despite the mounting disappointment, engineers and management in Maranello continue to dedicate significant energy, technical resources, and financial investment in an attempt to transform what is widely seen as a fundamentally flawed project into a car that can compete for race wins. Yet this desperate push for metamorphosis now seems hopelessly belated, comparable to scoring a consolation goal in the closing minutes of a football match, a symbolic but ultimately meaningless gesture that changes little in the grand scheme of things. There is a crucial transformation that Frederic Vasseur desperately needs to succeed. Let us begin with a fundamental and non-negotiable reality. The significant regulation changes scheduled for the 2026 Formula One season will be so radical and all-encompassing that no meaningful technological carryover from the current SF-25 chassis to the future Project 678 will be possible. To put it simply, the 2026 generation Formula One cars will differ entirely across every core technical domain, ranging from aerodynamics and chassis architecture to the hybrid power units, sustainable fuels, and newly designed tires supplied by Pirelli. In this context, Ferrari is conducting its second official filming day of the season this week, with the test taking place behind closed doors at the iconic Mugello circuit in the Tuscan Hills. The primary objective of this private test session is to evaluate the behavior and dynamic characteristics of the newly designed rear suspension system, which the team hopes to introduce as early as the upcoming Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps. Having exhausted the narrative centered around untapped potential and invisible performance, the Maranello-based outfit is now making a final, all-or-nothing effort to deliver respectable and competitive results in the remaining races of the 2025 campaign. From a managerial and structural perspective, this marks a point of no return for several senior figures within Ferrari's racing division. It would be deeply troubling and potentially disastrous if the team were to show no tangible signs of recovery ahead of the massive regulatory overhaul set to arrive in 2026. From a rational and strategic point of view, the wisest course of action would be to channel all remaining energy, financial resources, and technical development efforts into the 2026 project, rather than continuing to chase diminishing returns in the current season. In Formula One, every aspect of competition moves at supersonic speed, not only the single-seaters flying around the track, but also the internal decision-making processes and strategic planning behind the scenes. Within this context, the recent public comments made by Ferrari Chief Executive Officer Benedetto Vigna at Silverstone were carefully phrased and softened in tone, but they nonetheless revealed a concerning lack of understanding regarding the complex and fast-moving dynamics that govern the top tier of international motorsport. To suggest that it is too early in July to begin discussing Frederic Vasseur's future as team principal is, frankly, a shocking and alarming position. As Formula One approaches what is widely considered to be the most significant technical revolution in the modern history of the sport, the lingering uncertainty surrounding the leadership of Ferrari's sporting division, particularly with Fred Vasseur's current contract set to expire at the end of the calendar year, is both puzzling and damaging. This is not merely a matter of appointing or replacing a program manager within a road car division. This concerns the leadership of a high-performance engineering team responsible for developing a racing prototype that must compete with and outperform rival teams whose sole corporate focus is Formula One racing and whose entire infrastructure is built for success in this domain. In terms of internal morale and organizational stability, it is inevitable that when the team principal finds himself under increasing pressure, the entire management chain beneath him becomes destabilized. No one within the team structure may publicly acknowledge this, but it remains an undeniable and damaging truth. So, the fundamental question becomes, who is actually shaping and guiding the future of Scuderia Ferrari? Will the solution once again be to identify and install a new lightning rod figurehead to replace Frederic Vasseur, merely to serve as a shield and deflect blame away from senior leadership figures who themselves may lack strategic clarity? The communication shortcomings at Ferrari are evident and persistent. Based on currently available internal information and industry sources, it appears that Frederic Vasseur is likely to be confirmed and retained at least through the first season of the new regulatory cycle in 2026. This would allow the company's top management and board members to assess whether the 2025 campaign was simply a painful and unproductive transitional period. And if the Ferrari Formula One team is now pushing its efforts to the limit in an attempt to recover what may be technically unrecoverable with the underperforming SF-25 chassis, it is also because of this larger strategic purpose, to demonstrate to upper management that the team is capable of responding under pressure, regaining internal order and cohesion, and rebuilding confidence at every level to ensure that it is fully prepared to seize the opportunities presented by the radically new 2026 technical regulations. The next races will not only test the technical capabilities of the Ferrari SF-25, but also the leadership and strategic direction of the entire team. For Fred Vasseur, every decision made in the coming months could prove decisive in shaping his long-term future at Maranello.